So if you are a fan of Nintendo news, rumors, or leaks whatsoever, you probably have a pretty flooded recommendation page right now on YouTube suggesting that Nintendo's 2022 lineup has indeed been leaked, and it's probably coming from various different Twitter accounts claiming to be leakers. And in today's video, I want to break down and actually look at the history of where these leaked titles really stem from, because I think if we walk through it together, you may gain a different perspective on some of the news going around, because the reality is that a lot of these people claiming to be in the know with Nintendo are not the first people actually claiming that these games are coming down the pipeline. So let's walk through the history of the leaks and hopefully explain them together in today's video. What's up, Nation? If it's your first time on the channel, make sure you join Sunbro Nation by subscribing below, hit the like button on this video if you enjoy it today, and make sure you turn on your bell notification icon so you're kept up to date with all the newest gaming news. Now, as I mentioned, guys, we're just covering one story today, but it is a massive one because, as I mentioned, you're probably seeing a ton of talk and discourse online suggesting that Nintendo's 2022 lineup and even into 2023 has been somewhat leaked, and this is coming from various different accounts on Twitter, and it's kind of getting out of control in my opinion. And there's also some lack of perspective, at least from some users, that I really just want to shine a light on, because I do try to stay pretty active in the comment section on these videos, and I do enjoy getting a back and forth conversation started with you all on all the topics we talk about. And one thing that's starting to come to my attention is that as I've covered a lot of these news, rumors, and leaks over the course of time, there's actually some miscommunications on where some of these actually stem from. And when you see these Twitter accounts go ahead and predict a title that Nintendo is most likely working on for 2022, and they're trying to be right about it, you may think that they just have inside information and that's why they are making these claims. Whereas if you look at where the rumors and leaks really stemmed from, they were either from industry insiders that I covered here on the channel, or there was, a credible gaming journalist. Like, there's a number of different sources that I cover before I ever go to types of Twitter users that we will be somewhat talking about today. And not to badmouth anybody, just to be transparent, I do not have the ability to tell if somebody is trying to get attention online or if they are a legitimate Nintendo insider. And like with any leaker, some things are right, some things are wrong, but one thing to keep in mind is that you have to kind of call them out on the track record when they are wrong, because a lot of people read lists like this and think it's fact, and they think that the next Nintendo Direct that we get is going to be a full blowout event with all of these announcements, and then they're very let down when it doesn't happen. So to start off the conversation, I want to hop through one leak that we've talked about a lot here on the channel and where it really stems from. And that is none other than the Wind Waker and Twilight Princess HD games coming over to the Nintendo Switch. Now, you can just say on the surface value that this makes sense for Nintendo to do, so maybe that's why people are predicting it. But I want to go back in time a little bit, because this leak does not come from New Marco Maro, Samus Hunter, or any of the other Twitter leakers. It actually originally stems from Andy Robinson on VGC. He's probably very tired of his name being tied to this, but the reality is, I'm sorry, I don't think he watches the videos, but in case you do, Andy, I'm sorry for continuing to shout out your tweet. It's just got a lot of people talking online when Skyward Sword HD was revealed at the Nintendo Direct presentation, I believe in February. He then took to Twitter and said, for those disappointed with Skyward Sword Remaster, Wind Waker and Twilight Princess are 100% coming this year, so that's at least one good 3D Zelda. And then he went into update later on in June after that original February tweet, and he said, update on this for everyone who's now flooding my mention. Predicting dates is a fool's game, and I should have never used 100% in the original tweet. Zelda fans, sit tight. You then had industry insider Jeff Grubb, or GamesBeat journalist rather, Jeff Grubb, that has a great track record with calling things, specifically most around Microsoft announcements, but there have been various things over the course of time that are Nintendo related that he has shouted out before other people. And he did chime in on Wind Waker HD and Twilight Princess HD being real things, but the Nintendo may just be using them as kind of a placeholder for either Breath of the Wild 2's development or a light year on Zelda content. So he really didn't have an exact time window on when they may be released, outside of the speculation that was kind of stating that if Breath of the Wild 2 needed to be delayed to 2023, that maybe Nintendo would slot in one or both of those games as a placeholder. You then now have New Marco Maro, of course, most recently on Twitter, tweeting out a big list for 2022 games, and we will walk through this in a little bit more detail later. But the one thing is he did go out of his way recently on January 4th, which was just yesterday at the time of filming this video, and he specifically specifically cites Zelda Wind Waker HD, and he says people that are worried about Zelda Breath of the Wild sequel if Wind Waker and Twilight Princess HD is released this year should remind that in the past the company released 2 Zelda games in the same year, like Ocarina of Time 3D and Skyward Sword in 2011, or Majora's Mask 3D and Triforce Heroes in 2015. And he's essentially just trying to say for people who only think there can be one Zelda game per calendar year, that if you look at history, that is not the case. So I just want to point out the fact that while we do see these Twitter leakers make their own lists and predictions, in my opinion, I don't think that a lot of the accounts we're talking about today necessarily are credible enough to call them a confirmed insider, but they definitely have called certain things that you could argue are hard to predict. But I also know how the internet works, and if anybody does enough research online on different Reddit threads and following with game leaks and rumors, you can probably find a lot of the instances where they were not the first person to report upon it, but rather would continue to predict that it is coming down the pipeline when somebody else who actually has a reputation online and their name tied to it have actually went out of their way to say that it was in development or in the works. And so that's kind of example number one. The next thing I want to talk about is the very heavily rumored 2D or 2.5D Donkey Kong game, as this is another one that is on the predictions list from Mr. New Marco Maro. And the other accounts that I'm kind of referencing here are Leaky Pandy, I think is the name, and then Samus Hunter as well, which I was kind of undecided on Samus Hunter for a while. Most recently, she went out of her way to claim that the Zelda's 35th anniversary would continue at the Game Awards, and we all know how that turned out. We didn't see anything from Nintendo other than mashup trailers, so it really was a full-on misstep and misprediction on her part. And then I think Leaky Pandy, from the brief research I've done, they've changed their account name over the course of time because they've been wrong on so many things that people pretty much caught on, and I just don't take any of these leaks at very much of a face value thing, and I don't think that these are the first people saying it. I think they're getting it from secondhand information and wanting to kind of gain a following online. But to quickly cover the Donkey Kong rumor origin, I want to hop over to a Nintendo Life post, and for this we actually have to go back to May 12th of 2021. So their original story reads as follows: Donkey Kong is one of Nintendo's oldest video game characters, and while the series has seen some massive releases over the year, Donkey Kong Country and Donkey Kong 64 being two notable examples, the franchise has remained pretty dormant since Tropical Freeze, which made its debut on the Wii U back in 2014 before being ported to the Switch in 2018. However, there are rumors that Nintendo is looking to resurrect the series by bringing it in-house, with development currently underway at Nintendo EPD, the team responsible for Super Mario Odyssey. YouTuber Lonely Goomba has mentioned the rumor in passing on social media, and other sources have also discussed it, but Nintendo Life can confirm that it has heard the same rumor from an independent and very trusted source, which would appear to lend this report some degree of legitimacy. However, our source claims that the game will be 2D or 2.5D if you prefer, and not 3D. You can then see Lonely Goomba's original tweet here. I heard an unlikely rumor that the Mario Odyssey team are working on a 3D Donkey Kong game. I think I would actually prefer that to another 3D Mario. Then Nintendo Life does actually say the following: this rumor is also backed up by recent comments made by leakers Zippo. Which, quick side note on Zippo, he's gotten plenty wrong in recent years. Before, it seemed like he was a somewhat reliable source of information. His track record has definitely waned over time, so take that with what you will. Now then, to kind of bring this point home, I want to read through New Marco Maro's initial plans for 2022 tweet, and it is the following games: Pokemon Legends Arceus, Kirby and the Forgotten Land, Advance Wars 1+2, a casual IP, whatever that means, Splatoon 3, Fire Emblem Echoes, Detective Pikachu, Zelda Wind Waker Twilight Princess, Mario plus Rabbids 2, Bayonetta 3, Metroid Prime, new 2D Donkey Kong, Pokemon Let's Go sequels, Zelda Breath of the Wild sequels, and a Monolith project. So you may kind of see my point there. Maybe you agree with me or disagree with me. It's fine either way. I would love to hear from you in the comments down below, but I do think that this is kind of one of those lists where if you just do the basic research, well, one, Nintendo, most of those games are already announced and we know they're coming in 2022, and then it's kind of like we're sprinkling in a couple of the different rumors we've seen pop up over the course of time that were actually backed up by gaming journalists and different things like that. There's also, of course, the Xenoblade Chronicles 3 leaks that are out there. That was from a voice actress and then backed up by a gaming news website. So it's like these actually don't stem from these Twitter accounts in most cases. I'm not saying that they've been wrong about everything, but I also think that it's pretty logical to go ahead and say that they could build their own predictions list with just being in the know with different leaks and rumors that are suggested from people who do have a real identity tied to them and not just a username on Twitter. And that's kind of where I am starting to fall on these accounts in my own personal opinion on them. And I do think that it's kind of logical to expect a lot of the type titles that they are suggesting to actually see Nintendo deliver them. And if they don't deliver them in 2022, and you say a new Mario Kart's coming and it's going to continue to come in 2022, and then that passes, well, then maybe there was an internal delay and it's actually in 2023. So you kind of get my point that you can be wrong and then still ultimately be right. So I want to hear from you guys at this point in the video where you kind of fall on all of this rumor mill, leak talk, speculation. Maybe you're tired of it. That's totally fine too. I think we really have to wait for the Nintendo Direct at this point, but I did kind of want to make this video explaining where some of these have really stemmed from, because I think over the course of time it kind of gets forgotten about, as obviously everybody has busy day-to-day lives. So as I mentioned, guys, I want to hear from you and all your thoughts and opinions on what we talked about today. Which games do you think Nintendo will deliver that are not officially announced yet? And what are you expecting from the next Direct presentation? Because I would love to get a back and forth conversation started with you all around this topic. Thanks so much for watching the video today, everyone. I do truly appreciate you all sticking around until the end. I do at this point in the video want to invite you all one more time to join Sunbro Nation if you haven't done so already. Do so by subscribing below, hit the like button on your way out if you enjoy it today, and make sure you turn on your bell notification icon so you're kept up to date with all the newest gaming news. That's going to do it for me, guys. I hope you all have a great day. Sunbro Nation, out.